Fact: if you're surrounded by the smell of chocolate, you're more likely to buy a pair of shoes. That's not exactly why humans have such a stellar sense of smell, though. Scent's evolutionary purpose was to protect us from danger. Does your food smell good? Great, it's probably fine to eat. Does even a whiff make your stomach turn? Step away from the meat. These days, you're probably more likely to be inspecting leftovers than a questionable buffalo carcass, but scent has evolved to significantly impact unexpected parts of your day, including how and what you buy. You can't really see when you're born. You can't really hear either. It takes about a month for your ears to mature, but smell is the first sense that you fully develop.
From the time you're 13 weeks in your mother's stomach, you have a fully developed sense of smell. So your mom starts eating, and smell is the only thing that passes through the amniotic fluid, and it's starting to develop your taste preferences. So dependent on your generation, your living environment, and your culture, those foods that your mother eats are going to be very different. And to the first 10 years of your life, all of the experiences in those 10 years are going to be based on generation, culture, and living environment for all of your stimuli, not just your smell. But specifically for smell, you have your consumer products, you have your baby products, you have your suntan lotion, you have your food, you have, if you live in a city and there's a smell of gasoline, or you live in the country and you have a smell of manure, all of these things you're starting to create emotional memories with. And these emotional memories decide hedonically whether you like things or you don't like things. And that's what all your preferences are formed.
When you breathe in air containing odor molecules, those molecules bind to odor receptors inside the olfactory epithelium in the back of your nose, which then sends messages to the brain. So unlike your other senses, scent has a pretty direct path to your brain. In fact, your brain can detect up to 1 trillion different odors, thanks to these things called olfactory neurons. Unlike sight and sound, which run through a relay center, odors travel directly to your brain through the amygdala, the thalamus, and the neocortex. Each of these controls your emotions, memory, motor functions, attention, arousal, cognitive functions, spatial reasoning, and conscious thought. So basically everything that makes you, you.
So what happens when you smell something, you automatically have a feeling about it. And it creates what I like to call smell emoticons, which are kind of linked together. So every time that this smell is introduced, this scent, this odor is introduced, you automatically have that feeling again. And they forever live together floating around your olfactive memory. They can never be separated. And so that becomes triggers. So that's where olfactive preferences come in. Most memories that you have, specifically from childhood of course, are floating around this olfactive memory. And those triggers are based on emotion. It's largely how you felt in those moments of your life. What's interesting about that, you have this olfactive memory with all these little scent emoticons floating around, and then you have decision making down here. So when you get triggered by something and you have a feeling about it, you make a decision on how to behave.
What does this have to do with shopping? Since scent is the most direct path to your cognitive functions, retailers can use it to create environments and elicit emotions from customers in the hopes of increased sales. Okay, don't panic. There's no scientific proof that manipulating smells takes away your free will or anything, but there are a lot of studies suggesting that scent can be a very powerful persuasion tool. Here's how. A 2004 study by Dr. Eric Spangenberg found that participants purchased up to double the stuff when the scent matched the gender of the shopper and the target gender of the merchandise. It surveyed 300 people to determine which scents were perceived as more masculine or feminine, settling on rose, maroc, and vanilla, respectively. These scents were then introduced one at a time to a retail space with both men's and women's clothing. 181 shoppers participated. 91 were exposed to the feminine scent and 90 exposed to the masculine scent. The study found that the gender-congruent scent led to a more favorable evaluation of the merchandise, overall evaluation of the store, longer time spent shopping, number of items purchased, and amount of money spent. The takeaway here is congruence, which is key to how you perceive scent. Your brain expects cheese shops to smell like cheese and soap shops to smell like soap, and if they don't, you're less likely to interact with them positively. Since scent is tied to memory, cultural congruency is hugely influential when we're talking about scents. For example, if you're French, you may be less inclined to find pungent cheese shops unpleasant than, say, an American. If you're American, you probably associate lemon scent with cleaning products, so if you were to find that smell in a restaurant context, it would likely put you off. But that wouldn't be the case if you're Swiss, because Swiss cleaning products are mostly peach or apricot scented. Congruency isn't the be-all end-all. Dr. Spangenberg found that simple scents make consumers more likely to buy than layered scents, suggesting that environmental cues that require a little more work from your brain may distract you from purchasing.
So oftentimes people think, oh, let's put this perfume or let's put this complex, blend of scents in here that's deemed pleasant. What we found is that those scents actually make people less fluent in the behaviors other than evaluating the scent. And so what we expect is that people are actually spending their limited processing capacity on identifying and parsing the scent rather than the scent serving as a background variable or an entirely peripheral cue that is just increasing the pleasant nature of the shopping environment or whatever it might be.
For a 2013 study by Lieve Doucet, researchers in Belgium performed an experiment in which they introduced a chocolate scent into a bookstore. They used chocolate because of prior studies, which found that the smell of chocolate has a greater effect on human central nervous system than other food smells. Which, well, duh. Shoppers exposed to the chocolate scent lingered more, they examined multiple books, read synopses, and interacted more with employees. And they were less likely to search for a specific book, go directly to the cash register, or ask employees questions before screening the store environment. Maybe someone should have told boarders about chocolate. Want to get really crazy? There's an even bigger difference between warm and cool scents. A 2014 study found that the former, scents like vanilla and cinnamon, drove shoppers to purchase significantly more luxury purchases than cooler scents like peppermint and eucalyptus. Warm scents make you feel like you're in a more dense environment. You feel like you have less control, which prompts you to automatically adopt a power compensatory behavior in an attempt to regain power, meaning buying luxury goods. Of course, not every retailer is pumping out smells to turn you into a shopping puppet. Implementing these techniques is often too costly, but as a consumer, simply understanding how scents can influence your brain and emotions gives you leverage to control your behavior and choices. You can either actively participate in or reject scents influences. So keep your nostrils open next time you walk through your favorite store.